The National Veterans Wheelchair Games have long been a great venue to introduce and demonstrate new sports that are happening in the adaptive sporting world. At this year's games, one of the most popular sports the vets are trying is wheelchair football. With the combined efforts of Move United, the recently formed United States Wheelchair Football League has rapidly grown to 14 teams and more than 800 players across the country.
By spreading out the defense, all right? So they have to decide, am I going to cover, am I going to rush?
We started the USA Wheelchair Football League in 2020, a great time to start a league right in the middle of COVID. And we started it with 4 teams. We are now starting our 4th competitive season, and we now have 14 teams across the country. So it is growing a lot. We have probably 15-20% growth every single year with athletes participating, and so we're looking forward to continuing to get to, being in every city across the country, hopefully.
Football's football, so as far as play design, we can take a formation such as twins or 2 slots and run basic football plays. We can run advanced plays. We can put people in motion. There's really nothing we can't do when we look at the playbook of football across flag, tackle to wheelchair. It's universal. The difference is we have 7 players and all 7 are eligible. So actually it opens up more receivers than you normally would have. So in tackle football, you're gonna have 5 offensive linemen and you'll have 6 eligible receivers, 1 being a quarterback. So really you got 5 going out. So really in wheelchair football, you're in the same boat. You have lots of eligible receivers and more opportunities for everybody to touch the football. So one thing like with throwing the football that might be a different type of throwing versus stand-up versus chair is when you go to throw is the counterbalance with your non-throwing hand. So let's say I'm throwing with my right hand, my non-throwing hand, I want to go on my wheel to keep stability so I have a good base when I throw. So that's something that's a adaptation that we have to learn to do, and they find out that, whoa, hey, when I grab this wheel, I got a good base, and now I can throw further versus if they didn't do it. When we were developing the curriculum, we took the stand-up world with the wheelchair world, and we meshed it, and we kept all the elements that we could. And again, we looked at and talked to the players of like, hey, when you go to throw that football, as one example, we learned that, okay, you got to have that counterbalance because a base, like stand-up and wheelchair, is key to make that ball go far.
What kind of potential do you see for wheelchair football? I mean, is it really sky's the limit? I mean, you having played quarterback, standing up, I mean, it's a little bit different throwing the ball, but, what are the differences in the sport, but what's the competition like?
Competition it's a lot more aggressive because even with basketball, like with the wheelchair, you got to learn how to maneuver things. So with your feet, you can run routes and do everything else, and you do the same things with the wheelchair. It's just a lot more complicated because you don't have a real big height advantage. So you really have to be accurate with your throwing. You got to know your routes that you're going to run and how to maneuver with the wheelchair.
Football field is 60 yards plus end zones. So if you can imagine that, it's about 3 basketball courts stacked back to back to back, which that space can be difficult to secure. That being said, if you're looking to start a community-based program, you don't need a full football field to get people out and active and throwing the ball. If you have a basketball court that you can get people out practicing on and playing, that's plenty of space to get started. And so there's ways to work around some of those challenges, of course.
We stress safety by having helmets, and we have all the concussion protocols in place. But more importantly, people love it because it's football, which is aggressive. There's every element that you can fathom in the game can happen in the chair, and it's at a faster rate.
I think there's a lot of people who maybe live in a community where they're the only person with a disability in their community, right? And so they're now getting to come out and be on a field with 6 other guys or girls. It is a co-ed sport, but with 6 other people who face similar challenges of them, who understand where they're coming from. So there's that team aspect that's really exciting. then to your point, it is a high action sport. So there's tackling in the same way that there is in the stand-up game. People are passing, throwing, they're moving constantly, and I think that really appeals to a very particular athlete who wants to, just really be stimulated and excited about the game. And I think particularly when we talk about veteran athletes, football, again, that team aspect is really important to them. I think a lot of them spent a lot of time with the Army being their team or the Navy being their team, and now they have another place to go for this sort of team and camaraderie, and football really provides a lot of that sort of family and community that they've been missing.
I see the enthusiasm through the roof. The hardest thing is to tamper them down from being so aggressive, and they do want to tackle each other, but we don't. Tackle is a one-hand touch. Even though a lot of them would love to tackle, it's a one-hand touch. So it's really tampering down their emotions, but it's an awesome experience to see them excited about it, and the way they go at it is just like football.
If someone wants to start a program, they can reach out to Move United and talk to me. One of the big things that we do is provide a lot of training and education resources. So we have courses on how to coach wheelchair football online, so you don't even have to come to something in person. We can provide a little bit of funding for running a Learn to Play clinic to see what interest might be out there for athletes. And we can really just provide a lot of support as you have questions along the way.